Now it's time to talk about our art vocabulary. Ta-da! In today's lesson, we're going to have two new art vocabulary words. The first is going to be vanishing point. The second word we're going to be using is two-point perspective. Now we've already talked a little bit about perspective, so we know what perspective means. Now we got to go ahead and figure out what two-point perspective means. Let's get started. And welcome to the museum. No, I'm only kidding. We don't have to whisper in this museum because this museum is a digital museum, which means that I can look at it on my computer. And what I can do is I can even move around this room and see all the different things inside this museum. This museum is in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, so it's very, very far away. So the way that we can look at it is on a computer. Now, while I'm looking at this painting, I notice that it's not real big, it's not real small, it's a nice medium-sized painting. Let's take a closer look at it. In this painting, The Bedroom by Vincent Van Gogh, he painted his own bedroom. He did it 3 times. The first time he painted it, it was destroyed by a flood, so he painted it 2 more times. Vincent Van Gogh is using perspective, and that's our word for today. We're talking about perspective, and this is a great painting for us to look at. It's one of my favorite paintings. My art teacher when I was younger gave me a picture of it, and I saved it. At first I thought it was her bedroom, and then I did some research and realized no, in fact, it was Vincent Van Gogh's bedroom. We're going to be looking today at the chairs in his bedroom, and we're going to try to draw a chair of our own. Look at one of Vincent Van Gogh's sketches. A sketch is a drawing that you would do before you make a painting. Vincent Van Gogh did lots of sketches before he painted so he could plan them out. In the 8 studio habits, we call that envision. So Vincent Van Gogh was envisioning what he was going to make. Now in this picture, I'm going to show us how a chair, this chair right in the middle here, uses 2 vanishing points to show two-point perspective. So let's go ahead and let's put one of our vanishing points right up in the corner over here, and another one in the corner of the room over here. So now I have not 1 vanishing point, but 2. Then I'm going to make these lines on the corner of my chair into my vanishing point. And what I can see is that Vincent Van Gogh was using 2 vanishing points. And that's important for us because today we're going to be using 2 vanishing points to make our chair. It's not easy, but it's something that if we figure out these vanishing points, then we will make drawings that have correct perspective. And remember, boys and girls, perspective is the way an artist sees something and then recreates it. Voila. So what are you going to need today for your drawing? Well, you're going to need a pencil, you're going to need a ruler, and a white sheet of paper. So I have my pencil, I have my ruler, and a white sheet of paper. If you don't have a ruler, you can always use a side of a book, you can use a side of a piece of paper. It's up to you, just something straight that you can trace across. So, remember we talked about if the paper is standing up and down, it is portrait. I could draw a big portrait in here. If it's side to side, it's landscape. Portrait, landscape. So let's put our paper landscape. Side to side, nice and wide. Vincent Van Gogh's bedroom was a landscape orientation. It was not a portrait. He did do a lot of portraits, actually some very famous ones, and I'm sure we'll look at some of his portraits later on. Now, what I drew right there is a horizontal line, and that is called the horizon line. Now, the reason why the word horizon line might sound familiar to you is because we use it when we talk about landscape. And in landscape, a horizon line separates the sky from the ground. In our particular painting or picture today, the horizon line is going to separate the wall from the floor. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in vanishing points. Now, a vanishing point is a tiny circle or dot that lives on the horizon line. So I have 2. You can see that I put them very far away from each other, almost to the edges of the paper. Now let's get this ruler. This part's a little bit tricky, so don't be afraid to pause, rewind, go back, try again, make some mistakes. Making mistakes is part of being an artist. And the way you're going to become the smartest artist is by being okay with making mistakes, but then learning from them. So let's start off by putting our ruler on the vanishing point. So I can move it, see, but it stays on the vanishing point. And I'm going to make a diagonal line. nice and long. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Nice and long. Put your ruler back on your diagonal line, and with your pencil right there, slide it up a little bit and make it again. So this line is now above this line, but they both go into the vanishing point. Same thing on this side. Put your ruler there, slide it up a little bit, and make it again. Now, this almost rhombus shape is going to be the seat of my chair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that in a little bit darker. Voila. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ruler back on my vanishing point, and I'm going to slide it down and make a long diagonal line again. Same thing on this side. Slide it down, long diagonal line again. This line is going to be for the legs of my chair. Now we have this seat right here. So what I'm going to do is on the corner of my seat, I'm going to make a line all the way down till it hits this diagonal line. And over here, I'm going to make it all the way down till it hits this diagonal line. And on this side, I'm going to make it a vertical line all the way down till it hits this diagonal line. So now I have 1, 2, 3 of my legs. Now the last leg is hiding back here, so I make it really light. I don't need to draw it very dark, but that's where this one would go. Okay? So now what you can do is you can make your leg a little bit thicker by using parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that run next to the lines. They don't go across them. And now I have some legs for my chair. And if you wanted to, well, let's start making the back of the chair now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put my ruler back on my vanishing point. You notice I'm sliding my paper now. Sometimes that helps us. It definitely helps me draw when I slide my paper around. And I'm going to make a line that goes above my horizon line. And I'm going to do that one more time on this side. Now what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the corner of my chair and make a vertical line up to that top diagonal line. And I'm going to do it one more time on this side. So we notice that this line is bigger than that line. That is part of our 2-point perspective. And again, we know it's 2-point perspective because there's 2 vanishing points. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the back of my chair. And so how I'm going to do that is make some diagonal lines coming out of the vanishing point. And so what I can do now is I can trace and make little rectangles in the back of my chair. But remember, vertical, 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 and then these go on the diagonal lines that I made. The last step I have to do is I got to go back and erase all my guidelines. Kind of going through, erase all my guidelines. I don't have to erase my horizon line now. I can leave that in there because that's going to be useful later on. And what you can see is I've made a chair very similar to how Vincent Van Gogh made a chair in his painting The Bedroom. So, to go over really quickly, I started off with a horizon line, 2 vanishing points, a lot of diagonal lines coming out of my vanishing points, and then I was able to create a chair that has 2-point perspective. If you have any problems, send me a picture, because sometimes if I see some of the mistakes we're making, I can help you. But don't be afraid to start over, try again. It's part of being the smartest artist, learning from your mistakes.